MAC tournament takes place in Cleveland, Ohio. The top 8 teams make it. Kent State is your favorite at plus 150. Then Toledo, which became the first team in MAC history, I believe, to win the regular season championship outright 3 years in a row. Akron at plus 500. Then you have Ohio 11-1, Ball State 14-1, Buffalo 25-1, and then your Northern Illinois and Miami, much longer shots. Don't think they really have much of a chance, but maybe you disagree and are looking for a long shot here. I just hope, we really should get Kent State Akron part 3 in the semis if Kent State takes care of NIU and Akron takes care of Buffalo, which they both should. And that is a very contentious rivalry. Those teams hate each other. They've had some really fun, close battles over the past 2 years. Last regular season, Kent State winning and talking shit to the Akron fans. Then the videos, the suspensions in the MAC tournament, and Akron just rolled them. Then they split this year with Akron recently losing in overtime at Kent State, although that game should have never went to overtime. It was a really bad call, but Kent State prevailed in overtime. So that should be your semi. And if you look, then you're saying, all right, well, Kent's plus 150, Akron's plus 500. And that game probably will be, Kent State was -4 at home. Akron was -1, -2 at home. That game's going to be close to a pick. So the dichotomy in those odds is very interesting. Then on the top, you have Toledo, who is not the favorite, even though, Kent State's the favorite, even though they'll probably have to go through Akron. Toledo will have to face Miami of Ohio to start in the 1-8 matchup, then face the winner of Ball State and Ohio. There are questions about, Ball State has a lot of talent. Are they going to be fully healthy? They've dealt with some injuries down the stretch. So let's start on the bottom half. Do you agree it's Kent State Akron in the semis? Do you think either one of those teams is vulnerable to an upset in the first round?
No, the matchups worked out well for both teams. Akron, and Jordan Majeski's talked about this, how Akron is just a nightmare matchup for Buffalo, right? The way they grind it to a half court, Buffalo is lost in the half court.
They only could score in transition. That's just like the theme with Buffalo.
Yeah, and Gross is awesome in this tournament. I think historically he's been one of the better coaches. Obviously his notable Ohio run before he did the boomerang back to the MAC at Akron. And again, that match with Buffalo, I think they move on easily. I think Kent State picks off a brittle NIU team who I love down the stretch. They had a bunch of fun shot makers. I don't think people realize how good they were against the number for a few weeks there. But Kent State, I think, moves on. You're right. I think value-wise, I'm looking at Akron here because why is the dichotomy between those two so far apart? I would lean Akron if you're looking to take someone out of the bottom half. And it's probably the best bet on the board from just a pure futures perspective because Toledo, while their odds are appetizing, given the fact that they avoid both Kent State and Akron, and they're also going to probably line up with a brittle, injured Ball State team in the second round. They've just been so bad in this format, and you can argue that's circumstantial. I think there is some real signal to the fact that they're built to play. They're built to beat bad teams very well. They don't necessarily rise in competition consistently. I know they have this season. Obviously, the UAB game to start off the year gets people's attention. They've beaten Kent State this year. But in this format, last 6 years, Toledo is 2-10 against the number, not covering by an average of 6 points a game. They've famously flamed out early on. Last year, they had the disastrous shooting, free throw shooting facility that really doomed them. I don't know. I kind of think there's something to that. Honestly, where I'm looking is Kent State or Ohio, actually, at 11-1. Jeff Bowles, great coach. I think they're just kind of slept on. They've been covering by an average of 2 points a game the last 7 years or 6 years in this format. Again, catching Ball State first round. So I look at Ohio 11, 12-1, whatever you can find. And then Akron at 5-1.
Yeah. You mentioned, Buffalo wants to play as fast as possible. I think they're top 15 in adjusted tempo. Akron wants to grind the game to a complete halt. And I think they're outside the top 300 in adjusted tempo. They control the tempo. They keep Buffalo out of transition. And to wit, they won both regular season games, I think, by 20. Whereas Kent State, I think they only played Northern Illinois once and they lost. It was on the road. They lost by 10. And, they should be a double-digit favorite here. But Akron, I think they both have good matchups, but I think Akron has a better matchup in the first round.
Better relative matchup. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
For sure.
and you're getting them plus 500. So, and if it is Akron and Kent State, which I expect it to be again, I expect that game once again to be a war. Like, so having 5-1 in your pocket in a game that, yeah, I mean, could be Akron could have swept them in their last 3 games, including a meeting in the conference tournament. So I think that's where the value is for this tournament. I think that they should be shorter. Anything from a matchup perspective in the first round, like, are we watching Ball State injuries or down the line that you have targeted for the MAC?
Yeah, Ball State injuries are huge. Jerron Coleman, but then also Peyton Sparks, their big, has not been fully healthy. And I've gotten some bench guys to step up, but it's just still a team I like a lot, but I like the fully healthy version, especially with that tough matchup against Ohio, a team I still think is a little bit undervalued. People are kind of sleeping on them. And NIU, I think if you're a real dark horse, people continue to disrespect what they did down the stretch there, even with the injuries they had. They brought in some kind of unknown JUCO studs, David Coit, Zariq Nutter. And it's one of those, Ewing theory candidates, right? Better addition by subtraction. They lose Keyshawn Williams, people thought was their best player, and they've just been better without him. But I think first round, you got to check injuries for NIU to make sure they're fully healthy. Looks like they were last game, so you're probably safe there. And then Ball State as well. Huge. If Coleman's out, kind of strips him of their senior, point guard, floor general, which you're going to need, obviously, in this format.
Yeah, if you want to shop around for Ball and then you can get word or know that they're going to be fully healthy. I mean, presumably, this is a team that wasn't going to get an at-large, so they're, I was surprised they actually played Sparks down.
I agree, last game
down the stretch, but they played Toledo without Coleman. They lost by 6. They played Akron on the road before that without Coleman. They lost by 4. Earlier in the season, this is a team that beat Akron at home by 7. They won on the road at Toledo. So if they're fully healthy, they're definitely intriguing at 14-1.
Yeah.
Just from a talent perspective. They would, they play Ohio in the first round. I think they only met once. Ohio won at home, but a fully healthy Ball State I would like over Ohio, although that spread probably will be around a coin flip.
That's a pick. Yeah, it's a flip. Yep.